Welcome to Java, and thank you kindly for joining me. This is going to be a big episode, just to warn you up front, because it is November 7th, 2025. This is Friday. We're heading into the weekend, and there's a lot going on. We're supposed to get payroll information. We are either going to get a resolution, in my opinion, today, or we could possibly see a false flag going into the weekend to cover some of the damage that is happening. We are in day 38 of this shutdown, and it is really beginning to burn in the real economy. So let's get started with what's going on in the markets. Extreme fair territory, we're at 33 on the meter. What are we going to take a look at? Always watching 10-year yield. It is rising. So at 4.099, this is positive for stocks and asset spaces because it's bond sell off. So currency flowing different directions. Relative strength of the dollar down slightly. So that also concurs with that. Now, stocks looking to the opposite. They're very weak yesterday on the sell off. We've got volatility index up, gold up on the safe haven as well as oil. Futures, though, relatively flat, and there could be a bit of a shock here. Now we've got cryptocurrencies back up, recovering above the 100,000 level and hovering here, kind of consolidating. Can go either way. If this goes up, rising tide floats all ships. And I just said yesterday that Bitcoin has been a bit of a leading indicator for NASDAQ in particular, tech stocks, and which is driving the stock market. So with this United States stock market kind of lead indicator with cryptocurrencies, now Citi is agreeing with me, saying pay attention to Bitcoin because it is closely correlated with the NASDAQ, but it's slightly ahead, as I was saying. So not always, not guaranteed, but something to also keep in mind. So as we go to this daily driver, the fear at the moment, this is usually what indicates opportunity when it goes more to the extremes. Now we've got the Senate vote coming in today. They've kind of committed to coming to something. So if they come to a resolution, which they need to soon, this could cause, in my opinion, a green shock in the market. That just means that things could get quite strong in reverse on this positivity. In particular, if they talk about rate cuts or anything along with that, we do have Fed President speaking today. Now we've got flights, this is all over the news, going nowhere, but it's affecting, these are the main airline tickers for the moment, cutting 4 to 10% in the next few days. This is also going to ripple out because it's going into the highest travel season of the year. This also will affect spending during the largest season with interruptions. It's going to have major implications as it ripples out. This is partially because not just being able to travel, because that ripples out through hotels and the likes, service sector, restaurants, but all of the employees that are not getting their paychecks right now, and this also includes the military. So unless they're feeling good enough to spend the day after Thanksgiving in the United States, which is the largest spending day in the year, also highest travel season, we're going to see some very serious bleeding happening from this in the economy, in the real economy. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about rare earths in a bit and silver. We've got rare earth reversal on the deals. Okay, so those have come down because China might be providing again. We've also got CarMax and other C19, you know what I mean, C19 that affected the shutdown. The whole variety that skyrocketed, we're watching a general reversal. And this is realizing that things are not the same as they have been. Not a lot of all of this easy money just floating in. It's finally pooling out. Now, Chinese exports are down in real terms. Now, rare earths, is this deal going to be sort of a bandage to kind of hold them up? Because, believe it or not, United States has massive interest in China's economy maintaining and not dumping. So otherwise, they would have dumped their economy a long time ago. Now, we've got the president rolling out a pricing deal with weight loss drugs with these two corporations in particular, Lilly and Novo Nordisk. But this is going to ripple out to ETFs as well as other sympathy plays in big pharma. So we are supposed to be getting the payrolls notice. So in lieu of that, we use warn notices. Now, warn notices are what corporations file. Larger corporations have to file if they're firing more than a certain number of positions publicly, and Challenger is different private data. But they didn't like what they said because they were both very negative. So they said that jobless claims data isn't as bleak as these two are saying, and you should trust the government information, even though it's not even coming out. So these reports, as always, we know they're a lot of garbage. But again, this is what drives the sentiment. Now, the calendar, all of these employment, unemployment, hourly wages, we are not getting any of those because of the shot. Instead, what we're getting is the consumer sentiment, and then also Mira is going to speak. So, Fed governors, what you get, more propaganda. Now, I want to speak a little bit more about what's actually going on as far as driving this economy. It is war economy. We've got European stocks reversing their gains. They're getting hit. So United States is also going to bolster them because they need to be the driver of Europe. So we'll turn to Germany. German exports rising more than expected. A lot of this is weaponry. Now and I've been speaking about this for a while, but in case you knew or you happen to miss those, German arms giant Rheinmetall. Now, they are very directly kind of bolstered, if you will, by the United States. That's why they're the arms giant. They're reporting booming sales and profits. And I know there's no shock in this talking about Ukraine, and this is why you're not seeing a resolution to that war at this point in time. We've got EU defense spending that they can't afford anymore. They're also moving to strip the Dutch shipbuilder of the lead role on warship projects, so they are growing. So they have taken also the auto sector, and they are the production engine, as they always have been for the EU. So look for this to continue. Now, in kind of similar terms, we've got United States Army seeking high energy laser systems that everybody gets on me and tells me don't exist. Just look at DARPA webpage. The new systems expected to take out intel and surveillance drones, as well as those carrying high-grade explosives. So it's not a question of creating these. It's just a question of who are they going to contract to build these. So this is how the Cantillon effect goes. When they get massive contracts, go to these corporations that are friends at very high levels. Now, a few other things I'd like to speak about before letting you go. I know this is going on a bit long, but we've got NVIDIA facing their chip blockages again, which sounds horrible, but they also have a bit of competition. Google has come out with a chip that they're beginning production with, and NVIDIA is not allowed to sell to China. So this is cutting their business production. Not that I'm going to cry for them because they're still doing quite well, but just to let you know as far as this stock. Now, I want to speak for a moment about critical minerals. We've got the United States adding silver and copper to the list. And so what does this mean? They may be included in future tariff policies, but beyond this, not just be included in these policies, but also that they can be controlled as far as crossing borders. We can also look at price controls, and the government will be implementing price controls going forward. They're already beginning to announce these. So let's go back to stock market. We've got Expedia, Airbnb, and Affirm all up. So these are up significantly. In fact, I believe they are overbought. My personal opinion, not financial advice. And then Open Door crushed. So these could be some opportunities to look at today. We've got Tesla. They approved Elon's pay package. It's not just a car company. So going forward, they are basing this for his $1 trillion pay. If anyone could pull it off, quite honestly, it would be him. So we've got Bulgaria also, when to bring this up, it's going to control Lukoil refinery. Now, this is a former Russian owned, one of the two largest. They're splitting off a bit of their assets. Why am I bringing this up? First off, for oil, it's going to affect that price. Secondly, this is also a different method that, just like through Germany, the United States can kind of control these trade lines as well as the currency flow, if you will. So we're going to be tying all of these countries together. And this is what this looks like when it begins. First, you've got to open up the venues. And then later on, when you need these, you can have your currency flows as they need to be. This will eventually also be a kind of a redundant line through to the EU. So I want to speak a little bit more about artificial intelligence. I am rolling out a ton of information today, so my apologies at the speed, but we've got to cover these and think about them. It's kind of a silly thing here, but IAIU and UAII. But what we're talking about is just like the circular financing, this is even worse. This is, in effect, circular data and circular knowledge. What do I mean by this? Large language models feeding on itself, different artificial intelligence entities, creating their own truth through self validation. So, in other words, what do I mean by this? If you've got a user of ChatGPT, they ask a question, and once they ask this question, they get an answer through ChatGPT that is kind of conglomerated, may not necessarily be validated, which is an entirely separate thing. And this gets posted social media. Now, this posting is asked by a couple of customers, if you will, gets repeated. Then you've got another one, let's say Anthropic or one of the other, Gemini even. They pick up on this information, they take it to be an answer, and it begins to be posted. Quite soon, what you've got is something that is not quite correct, but artificial intelligence is taking and then self validating. So, this is, in essence, the old game of telephone, to where you're taking the errors and amplifying them. You repeat them, amplify them enough, and that's what becomes the answer. So we're watching this very carefully. So there is this site, which is, in short, accidental. We've got the other side of this, which is not accidental, and this is Artificial Intelligence Studio. New tech could transform how military history is told. Now, they're talking about the methods and through movies and things, but this actually could change. History is written by the victors, is the saying, and we know who the victors going forward are about to be, and not necessarily humans. So we've got the EU, along with all of this, set to water down the landmark AI Act after big tech pressure. This, to me, is a terrifying headline. So if we're looking at regulating artificial intelligence for safety, and you've got big tech that can pressure them out of what they think is big safety, whether they are correct or not. Big tech then will rule. And this is the type of corporatocracy which is what needs to be pushed back on. So they're proposing pauses to the provisions in digital rulebook because big tech is finding it uncomfortable to be restrained. So think about the implications that could have rippling out in the future. So I also want to say a little bit more about this. The NVIDIA supplier Foxconn, so it's actually Foxconn, the chip maker, doing a little bit more. This is crossing over into the physical realm. First ever deployment of humanoid robots for artificial intelligence server production. So this now is full cycle. The robots now are in the production of artificial intelligence servers in Texas. This is happening within the next few months. So this will create booming business. Could be positive for a lot of reasons, but also other things that need to be kept an eye on now. We've really got to watch this big tech, in particular, with them pushing through all of the geopolitical, they're in the political arena where they do not belong, and vice versa. So this is what we've got going forward, just to keep an eye on it. So with all of this massive opportunity starting today, I wish you all a wonderful trading day, and until I see you again, resist.